Hi there guys, welcome. It's still very early for me, but I'm very excited about this video for today because I'm gonna build the ultimate FX Impact compact build that I wanted to do for a long time. Ever since I saw the pictures of the compact Impact from Donny, I believe it was custom made by Ernest, I wanted to recreate it for myself. A very short Impact with a small air tank and a massive Donny Emperor on the end. Now, this build is not just a bolt-on kind of thing, it involves some tweaking and some custom parts to make everything fit together. It took me a while to figure everything out, but I think I have all the necessary parts here in front of me to make it work. I will explain step by step what they are as we get along with the build of this awesome variation of the FX Impact. Right, let's get it started. Alright guys, before we do the transformation, make sure your rifle is safe to work on. There are no pellets in the breech, it is not cocked, and your rifle is put on safe. Safety always first when working on our rifles. Step 1 is taking off the barrel, so we'll start with that. Undo the screw at the back and slide out the 700mm one. This is a 700mm stainless steel barrel carrier, and some people asked in the comments, does the original shroud still fit on it? Yes, it does, as you can see. Put it to the side. Then step number 2 will be removing the air tank. Also put it to the side. For this build, I'm also going to remove the beautiful Arca Swiss rail by Saber Tactical. It's 2.5mm. Like so. Put the rail and the screws to the side. And then the last thing we have to remove is the valve travel knob. Don't worry, you can just screw it off. Nothing will happen. Just be careful you don't lose the spring. This is the valve return spring from Yuma Air. I'll leave it in there for now. And at this point we can start assembling everything. Maybe I will put the spring to the side for a moment, it makes it a bit easier. The first thing of course we need is a compact barrel, a very short one. And the one I have is this stainless steel sleeve, 25 caliber Yuma dual hole transfer port on the end. It has a 25 caliber superior liner inside that I cut from the back, recrowned and refinished everything. On the front I put this collar, so I have a nice face to fit the Emperor to, so I know everything is perfectly in line with the barrel. So it just slides in like a normal one. Make sure it sits all the way to the end, like this. Retighten the screw. And as you can see, it just sticks out about 1mm in front of the Picatinny rail, so my Donny Emperor doesn't sit flush against this and still has a little bit of room to go wherever it wants. Next thing is the valve adjustment knob. Now the original valve adjustment knob, where is it? Here. If we put this on, it is impossible to fit our air tank. This, by the way, is a 170cc air tank from a Dreamline Compact. As you can see, it sits in the way, and this one we have to modify a little bit in order to have a thinner diameter. Now, when screwing this screw all the way in, past line number 1, every line is about 1mm. That's something I wanted to know if I still can have some adjustment or know where my adjustments are. So the first thing I did, take the screw at the back, loosen it, and the part inside we'll have to take out. It is a little bit press fit inside. Sometimes you can wiggle it out like this, but not in this case. So I quickly go to the bench. I'll put a longer M6 screw in this, tap it, and it will come out just like this. 1 second, I'll be right back. So now what I've done is I took an M6 bolt, threaded in from the back, like so, tapped it with a hammer, and then the two parts separate. And you get, whoops, you get this. So let me put this to the side, and this we will reuse. Then I had to figure something out to still have a small knob on the end in order to adjust my valve return spring. So the first thing I made was this, with 3D printed knurled knob with a screw inside that just fits over it like this. Then also made the second one. I machined this part, machined myself a little screw to go into the back that I can tighten like the original one, like this. I think I will go with this choice. Then, as I mentioned before, the lines you have on your valve adjuster are about 1 mm spaced from each other. So I printed myself some rings to fit over this. When it's fully screwed in, the original one passes the last line. So every spacer I made, I have one of 2 mm, 3 mm and 5 mm. I know I'm about at line number 3. So I will use this spacer to put over it, and I know it will exactly come to line number 3 compared with the original one. Put my valve return spring inside, put the screw over it and thread it in. And just like this, I have a smaller diameter valve adjustment knob. And I can always change out the spacers with the size that I need. Once that is done, we can fit our 170cc air tank. This is one from a Dreamline Compact that screws on. As you can see, the clearance between the two is very tight, but it all works perfectly. Like so. Maybe we'll even print a sleeve that still fits over this. I don't know, I will see in the future, but for now it serves my purpose. Then for the trigger guard, I opted to go back with the original one. My first preference, of course, was to use the Sabre Tactical Arca Swiss rail, but the compact one, but sadly enough I don't have it for the moment, so we'll have to do with what I have. Using this one will fit, but as you could see it will stick out further than the air tank, and that's not really the look I'm looking for. So when wanting to use the original one, I faced a small problem. When trying to put it on, as you can see, it touches the air tank in the front, and so I would have to make little spacers to put in between the trigger guard and the action block in order to have the clearance to fit that bottle of the Dreamline. So I printed myself two little spacers. They are about 2 mm, and they mimic nicely the finish, or at least the curvature of the original trigger guard. Took myself some longer screws that would fit through just like this. And a little spacer for the back. And now everything should fit together. Like so. And as you can see, with the spacers in between, it even still fits nicely flush with the ergo grip. And it looks like nothing happened. But now we have the clearance of about 1 millimeter between the bottle and the Picatinny rail. And then the last thing we have to add is, like they say in French, the pièce de résistance, the Donny FL Emperor. And it just screws on the end like this. Like so. And as you can see, we have a nice gap between the Donny moderator and the Picatinny rail, so nothing is touching each other. We have a gap between the cylinder and the Emperor. Really beautiful. Now for quick reference, I put the Ronin instead of the Emperor, and as you can see, they meet each other just nicely at the front, making it even more compact. Now, in the previous video, I showed you this air tube that I made to convert my Impact and my Maverick to a tube style air gun, giving me an extra regulator for both setups. So the Impact suddenly gets a dual regulator setup and the Maverick a triple regulated setup. Now, maybe it's an idea for FX to incorporate a regulator and a check valve into some small tubes like this, so you can just take them off, all the air stays inside, and giving you the extra regulator or the dual regulator setup for the FX Impact. This tube, on the other hand, I have to undo the gauge at the front to bleed the entire system before I can take the tube off, because it doesn't have a check valve on the end. Right. Alright guys, that finishes the ultimate compact build for the FX Impact. I'm really liking the look of this and really look forward to taking it out into the field. The 25 caliber 400mm barrel inside with my other modifications are more than capable enough to be pushing a 34 grain pellet at about 860 feet per second and still give me a full magazine on one charge. But in the next video I will tune this setup and give you all the necessary numbers. I hope you enjoyed this FX Impact build video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified when I release a new video. As always, I thank you for watching, keep on shooting, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Bye.